In Ireland, there are old stories about seals or fairies who would come out of the water and take on human form, like me and you. And they love to be near the sea. But if they ever stepped foot in the ocean again, they would turn into a seal again and never ever come back on land. This is a story by Gordon Buck, and I know the story from listening to the Make 'em Clancy trio when I was a kid at home, like you. Peter Kagan and the Wind. Peter Kagan was a lonely man in the summer of his years. One day he got tired of being lonely and he went away off to the east. And when he came back, he had a wife. She was strange, but she was good for Kagan and people liked her. And she was kind. She kept him company in the winter, come to summer, they were happy. Kagan had a dory then with a lug sail on her mast, and he used to go offshore 3, maybe 4 days a week, setting out for the fish. His wife was sad then. She didn't like to see him go. She'd go down to the sea sometimes and call to him. Kagan, 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 bring the dory home. Wind and sea do follow thee, and all the ledges calling thee. He said he could hear her calling 20 miles out to sea, and when he heard her, he would come home, whether he had fish or none. She was a seal, of course. Everybody knew that. Kagan knew that. But nobody said anything. One day in that year's autumn, Kagan said, "I've got to go now, go offshore and get some fish." But his wife said, "No, please, don't go." She started crying. "The winds are coming and the snows are coming. Kagan, 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 don't go out to sea. Stormy winds and snows do come, and oh, but I do fear for thee." But Kagan wasn't afraid of snow, and it was early in the year. So Kagan put in his oars and went out to sea. Kagan sailed in the middle ground. The wind was west all day and the fish were coming to him. Kagan read the writing on the water and in the sky. He saw the haze up very high above the clouds. He said, "That's all right for autumn, only a change of wind. I'm not afraid of wind." But Kagan read it wrong this time. The wind went away and then it came back. Southeast, and the fog came round. Kagan said, "I've got to go now. I'll find the gong buoy off the sunken ledges, and then I'll know the best way home." So Kagan put up the sail and bore away to the nor'ard for the gong. But oh, the wind was watching. The wind backed round the eastward and came breezing on against him. He sailed for a long time. The sail was pulling very hard, and finally the wind was so strong that the sail tore out. So Kagan took it down, and the dory went drifting. He thought he could hear the gong buoy, not too far away. Kagan, 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 bring the dory home. Wind and sea do follow thee, and all the ledges call on thee. But the dory was drifting, and by the gong buoy went away. Kagan said, "All right then." He put in his oars, and he started to row back for the gong. But oh, the wind was watching. The wind backed round northeast, making the seas confused. The wind said, "Listen, I've got something to tell you." Kagan rowing, "I don't want to hear it." The wind humps up then, making the seas short, making it hard for Kagan to row. And finally the seas are so steep that Kagan knows he isn't getting anywhere. So Kagan takes in his oars, and the dory goes drifting. Ciaran says, "Okay then, I've got something to show you." He took a slip of wood for a needle and waxed up a hand line for a thread, and he sewed the sail smaller. He sewed a reef up into it. The wind. "What you doing?" "Ciaran, you keep watching." So Ciaran put up the sail, and again he bore away to the north for the gong, but oh, the wind was watching. The wind backed round north-northeast. Ciaran can't hold his course now. Ciaran said, "All right then." He brought the boat about, and he started steering eastward. "You're heading out to sea." "I'm not afraid of water. I'll bring this boat about when I can fetch the gong buoy." "Well, I'll veer on you." "I'll go east." "Well, you do that, and I'll hold my course." "Well, I'll back on you." "You back too far and you've got to clear. You know that." "I can keep ahead of you." "You may be smarter, but I'm stronger." The wind grew bigger then. The wind blew harder. Finally, the wind was so strong that the sail said, "I can't make it, Ciaran." And Ciaran said, "I know. Thank you." So Ciaran took down the sail, and the dory went drifting. Ciaran took the sail off the yard and put it about him. "Sail, keep me warm." "The sail can't keep you warm." The wind snatched off north by east. "I'll freeze you." I'm not afraid of cold, but Ciaran was afraid. He didn't know what to do. And oh, the wind was working now. The wind brings ice and snow. The wind blows long and black. Ciaran says, "I'm dying. Sail, keep me warm." And the sail said, "I can't do it, Ciaran." Ciaran dying, and the wind blowing. Ciaran, 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 turn ye now to me. Turn your back unto the wind, and all the weary windy sea. Ciaran, 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 lay ye down to sleep, for I do come to comfort thee, and all thy dear body keep. So Ciaran lay on the bottom of the boat, and he tried not to be afraid of dying. And he dreamed of her then, his wife. He dreamed she was coming to him, and he heard a long calling down the wind, and he raised himself up and he saw her down the smoking, storming sea. She came over the rail of the dory. She came laughing into his arms, and all in the night, and the storm went away, and the wind went away, and in the morning they found him asleep, with a sail wrapped around him, and there was a seal lying there with him, curled over him like a blanket, and the snow was upon the seal's back. Ciaran, 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 bring the dory home, wind and sea to follow thee, and all the ledges calling thee.